So in this particular video, we're going to be talking about protecting your system, cybersecurity. All right, so there's this thing called the CIA triangle, and the C is for confidentiality, the I is for integrity, and the A is for availability. Confidentiality is basically protecting your information from unauthorized access. Integrity is basically making sure your data hasn't been modified or messed with in any way. Unavailability is just making sure that it's there. So think about if you was hit with a denial of service attack or your internet went out, basically your Wi-Fi. Basically, we're talking about your data being available whenever you need it. Hardening your system is basically just means decreasing the attack surface um, by closing ports, making sure everything is up to date, making sure your services, making sure you're not using services that are not needed, right? So if it's not needed, you basically can disable it. And also making sure all your software has its patches and hot fixes. Risk threats and vulnerabilities. So risk is the probability of exposure that could cause harm to your systems. A threat is basically anything that can harm or damage your systems. And vulnerabilities is anything that is a weakness in your security that can be leveraged by threats. Some of the threat actors you can think of organized crime, and those basically like groups that are basically organized. A lot of times they steal money, right? You might hear about somebody sending ransomware. I remember hearing about a hospital that got some ransomware and ended up paying money. And also paying the money doesn't always get you your data back, right? Because basically what happens with ransomware, they encrypt your data. And so you're not able to access your own data. Skip kiddies, that's basically beginners, basically people that they don't know how to make their own tools. They use tools that are already made. An hacked activist is basically just an activist, but he's a hacker though. He usually has some type of um, there's something behind it, right? Some type of meaning. So maybe climate change or environment, something of that nature. But it can be anything though. Could be something political. Um, an advanced persistent threat. That's usually like a nation state. So think of a nation that's hacking. They usually have a lot of money behind them, very sophisticated. Um, and you also might have a threat actor that's a company, right? A company might be committing espionage, trying to steal some secrets or something from another company. So how to handle risk? Um, some of the ways to do it is risk transfer, which is basically transferring risk to a third party. And when you do that, you can think of it as an example, it would be like an insurance company. That's like a common thing that is used for risk transfer. And risk mitigation is basically minimizing the risk to a certain level. So maybe they might use some type of security control to mitigate the risk. Um, Risk avoidance is choosing just to avoid the risk, right? Or use some type of alternative um, way to eliminate the risk. Risk acceptance is basically just accepting the risk, knowing the cost that's going to come with it. So, yeah, SLEALE and ARO. So SLE is single loss expectancy. It's basically the cost associated with the individual threat that occurs. Annual loss expectancy That's the expected cost of a realized threat over a given year. An annualized rate of occurrence provides us with an estimate of how many times per year a given threat might be realized. And this is the formula that you use. Um, Basically, it's just single loss expectancy times your annual rate of occurrence, which will give you your annual loss of expectancy. So say if I had 4,000 in single loss expectancy, you would times that against your annual rate of occurrence, which would give you your annual loss of expectancy. And that's basically all I'm going to talk about on this particular video. Just going to give you like a quick overview of a couple of terms that are used in cybersecurity. All right, until the next one.